have your fear, which might become reality. And you have Godzilla, which is reality.
I'm sick of Godzilla.
Wake up, everyone!
There are two things you don't know about the Earth. One is me, and the other is Godzilla.
We're safe here. No human being can understand that. The monsters on Monster Island can understand it.
Whether he returns or not, or is never again seen by human eyes, the things he has taught us remain.
We're back again on a schedule, sort of 2 weeks.
Kinda.
We're here, YHS on Monster Island with me, J Key. Jay, how are you?
I'm good, and we're back, but I'm a little nervous because I don't think I've been this concerned about going into a podcast review really since Godzilla 1998, because
Oh boy.
yeah, we got some interesting things to talk about. But I mean, who better to talk about them with than a man known from Daegu to Daejeon? He is the devilish and demented devotee of daikaiju, described dubiously as dinosaurs, sole single source on supplementing cinematic stories with Tsuburaya stock footage. And for this show, he watched The War of the God Monsters and Yongary. But after it, will the Tattooed Titan of Tokusatsu be asking himself, what the hell did I just see? He is the poet of Pyeongtaek, Mr. Jacob Walsh.
Jay, thank you so much. That was beautiful. I would rather listen to that on just that phrase on a loop for 4 hours than to ever watch either one of these movies again.
Well, in the case of War of the God Monsters, that would have more like, easily to follow plot that made a little bit more sense. I mean,
we'll get there. We'll get there in a minute. Hey, I know we usually jump right into pickups and then we do some news, but I don't know if you saw this because I saw it right before we started recording. Super 7 announced November 3rd.
November 3rd, I saw that. Yes.
Yes, we're getting. And now I guess it's possible that on November 3rd they could just throw another reaction figure at us. But it looks like we're going to get these 7 ultimate reveals on November 3rd.
Yeah, I would think so on Godzilla Day that they would do that as opposed to your point, a third reskinning of the Shogun Godzilla. But hey,
it's a toy company, so who knows? Yeah,
who knows? I'm really excited. Yeah, I had that in my news. I added it to the list on the news items for today because it's hot off the press. But I'm excited. I just don't know what to expect. I know we've talked about it and we've prognosticated on the show. Like, is it going to be? Are they going to redo iconic Godzilla, toys in a larger ultimate fashion like they've done with other lines? Are they going to do something totally different and reimagine these characters? I don't know. But hey, whether it's redoing Trendmasters or whatever, I'm down for it, most likely.
Yeah, me too. I want it. Do you own any Super 7 Ultimate figures at all?
I don't. No, I'm not. I mean, I'm familiar with obviously the turtles and some of the other things that I've seen, and I've admired them from afar, but I've never jumped in on Super 7. I
have 2 of the toxic. They put out the Toxie, Avenger figure, and then they put out an alternate that's the same figure but like glow in the dark. I bought both of those. Those are the only Super 7 Ultimates that I own. But I do have like 2 turtles on pre-order and a third Toxic Avenger figure on pre-order. They're beautiful figures, man. Yeah. I mean, they are a little expensive. The only thing that I'm worried about is the Super 7 drops. Their figures are 4 at a time, and you got to pre-order them.
Yep.
So then they're like $60 a piece.
Yeah, it's not a small insignificant.
So you got to be ready for about $250 to just come out of your account whenever they ship, which sucks. But I feel like I'm gonna get whatever they are. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm optimistic. I really am, and I know Brian Flynn is kind of like a toy god, and everybody, he does good stuff, and so I think they're in good hands. I collected them and then I got rid of them. I wasn't a huge like looking back, wasn't a huge fan of ultimately what NECA did with the Godzilla line. I think they were fine because they were accessible and people could get them, and that's was the good thing. But at the end of the day, like, I don't know, I'm more optimistic that Super 7 is going to take it to the next level and do something a little bit cooler.
I love NECA, and I own all but one of those Godzilla figures, and I do like them. They are a little, some of them are hit and miss. Like some of them look really great. Yeah. Some are a little weird, but I guess it's hard when you're sculpting Godzilla at that scale. It's a little, and also it's dealing with the price point, you know. I think Super 7s will have a little more attention to the detail when you're $20 versus 67 a piece or something, 62, whatever it is. But
so I envision, in my head, I envision them somewhere like between NECA and like SH Monster Arts, like somewhere kind of in between there.
Super 7 gives me that Monster Arts kind of vibe. Mm-hmm. Maybe not as much articulation, but
and light. Those things are so light. Like, it's funny, like those NECA figures weigh like 18 times more than the Monster Arts figures. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I'm excited. I mean, we've had all the Mondo stuff, and we've had a lot of kind of cool stuff with Godzilla here at stateside. I'm excited that Super 7
Mezco,
finally and Mezco, great. Yeah, I forgot about those guys. I'm excited to see what this Ultimate line is going to be. I think it could be huge, or it could be a flop. But I'm thinking, it'll be.
I mean, no matter what, we're at least getting 4 figures.
Yeah, I know, right? And and I hope that they follow the same kind of strategy they do with the Turtles, where it's like they'll do, kind of a foundational piece that you have to get, and then maybe go a little bit more. 3
weird ones. Yeah, that'd be. I'd be into that.
Yeah, they don't want me picking the kaiju, because it would be like Varan and Gezera and Skeleturtle.
They want the line to continue, so they will not pick those monsters.
I'm a toy killer.
Do you want to do the rest of the news, or do you want to do?
Yeah, let's do it. Hey, dude, we can change up the show on a whim. We are. That is how flexible we are. I actually don't even have a ton. I mean, I had 2 big items.
I don't have any other than that.
Well, the one I know we did want to discuss, not toy related.
I know what you're about to say.
Yeah,
I did.
Speaking of Godzilla Day, the announcement of the short film that is Toho licensed, like Toho produced, Toho official Godzilla versus Hedorah, in Final Wars form short film. I'm like, yes. For the 50th birthday of Hedorah. So 2 things: 1, awesome, and 2, what a great job Toho and all of their partners have done with Hedorah's 50th birthday.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
I'm beyond impressed, from apparel to this.
Yeah, Cavity Colors is also doing a special Hedorah thing they haven't revealed it, but they said that they're doing a Smog Monster collection, basically. So
Bandai Fashion did the shirts, and they did like the acrylic logos to put in front of your collectibles, like for Godzilla versus Hedorah or Hedorah 50th. And but there's so much stuff, and this is like beyond anything.
This is cool. This is cool because it's official Toho, and it's like, hey, you know what? We haven't seen first of all, we haven't seen a Toho Godzilla in a while. And also, it's Godzilla. It's like, we're kind of, it's the Final Wars Godzilla, so it's more a Godzilla that we recognize. It's not Shin Godzilla. It's not the anime Godzillas where he's really weird. And we've already discussed, I like really weird. But seeing just Godzilla, Hedorah, broad daylight, fighting in in Tokyo or wherever they are, it's going to be good. I hope it's not too short.
Yeah, it's like 30 seconds, right? I'm hoping it at least gives us maybe 10 minutes or something. I'm thinking like the Jurassic World short that they did, something at something rock, whatever, which was really good.
Which was better than the movie that came out.
By far. It was actually scary and some really cool dinosaur stuff, and actually moments of dread, like when the little baby was hanging upside down. Anyway, different podcast. But I think it I hope it's going to be something around there where it's like, there's a little bit of a plot there, it's like a little mini episode. And why not? I mean, if Toe's getting involved, I just have a hard time thinking that they would go in there and do like 30 seconds, but what do I know?
Right. I just thought it was cool that they still have those costumes intact.
Yeah.
Those Godzilla suits. I was like, these are from Final War. I know that those suits last a good while, and I do know that they usually put those in a museum, you know, but I was just like kind of shocked that those were the Final Wars costumes. So
unfortunately, I don't think the 71 made it because it was falling apart during the movie.
Right.
But we'll see. No, like I made a comment, I think on a post or something where I was like, I hope they give Gigan the same treatment next year because it's his 50th.
Man.
I mean,
can you imagine all the I haven't bought any of the Hedorah merchandise. I like Hedorah. Yeah. We did a whole episode on it.
Yeah, go check it out.
I don't feel a need to buy all the Hedorah, but if they do a Gigan and we get classic Gigan, not Final Wars Gigan, fuck me, dude.
Yeah, that is. I might have to take a second mortgage out on the house to buy all the Gigan stuff. Oh man, that would be amazing. And so that was the big news. And I think as more information comes out, I think we probably will have to have podcasts on it. I mean, of course, as the actual short film comes out, and I don't know how accessible it will be for us to view it, but once that comes out, hopefully there's a subtitled version, and then we can if not, who cares? We'll still do a show.
I'm sure there will be. Whatever.
Maybe we can dub it. Maybe we'll just make up the storyline and we'll dub it as a Patreon exclusive.
That's a good idea.
And it'll be like Mystery Science Theater 3000, but we'll try to actually make it a Godzilla.
But we voice Godzilla and Hedorah, like we give them.
I love it. Hey, you know what?
It's like Godzilla on Monster Island.
Exactly. You have obviously voice acting credits. Craig is a former stand-up comedian. Abby is really good at voices stuff. You got Ryan. I'm thinking YHS, the whole community of YHS can do it. The hosts come together to dub Godzilla versus Hedorah. Book it. I think it will be huge.
That would actually be really fun.
Yeah.
A fan dub of Godzilla.
A YHS host dub.
Let's see how long it is, and then maybe we'll do that.
I mean, because we can bring in John Yerkeba, we can bring in Kat Hansen.
Well, we'll see how many.
Everybody.
We'll have to see how many human characters there are. There's probably
none.
2. Yeah, none probably.
I love it. Or we could just do different versions. Everybody dubs it themselves, and we'll see which one wins. But other than that, which was just gigantic, and I'm excited to see kind of where that nets out.
Yeah.
The other one was toy related, and I sent you the image of this the other day when it dropped, but for all of our fans of Sofabi and Metacom in particular, they announced their new lottery exclusive. And hey, I know I get so much flack from the community on not loving Anraku and Saku as much as everybody else, and whether it's his puppet versions or whatever, but I have to admit, they won me over with the lottery exclusive. It's the final scene of 54. So it's the skeleton of Godzilla after he gets oxygen destroyed, but done in that Anraku and Saku like kind of rounded, chubby look. It looks awesome. So I did throw my name in the hat. I did enter the lottery.
So in order to get this figure, you sign up for the lottery.
Yep.
If you get chosen, then you can buy the figure.
Correct.
Do we know how much this figure is going to cost?
I know I don't know off the top of my head. I know it's set it. My gut, knowing like where Metacom usually is, it's probably around like $100 to $150. I know the last lottery figures they did, the big Gigan was an EX, and it was only like $90. I can probably look that up while we're chatting here, but that's usually where they're at. I mean, on the second hand,
I want to get in that lottery.
Yeah, it's easy. Just go to Metacom's site, and you just have to kind of guess where your emails and stuff goes, and hopefully you have a good translator because they don't have an English site.
Okay,
but it's pretty easy. I mean, I figured it out, so I mean, it can't be that hard.
Hey, go ahead. I didn't want to cut you off.
No. Go ahead. No, you're good.
Okay. Well, I was just going to say, I had completely forgotten about this, and maybe this came out. I don't know when this came out now, but. We were talking at some point, we were talking about X Plus figures, and you have a couple of the gigantic series figures. And I believe I'm on record as saying if they ever do another, I know they've already done a Shin, but I was like, if they ever do another Shin or if they do like an 89, I'll buy that.
Yeah.
And then within the last few weeks, they have announced an 89 gigantic series Godzilla
Yeah, the luminous version. So it's the March 2019 gigantic 89. They've reused that sculpt, but they added the lighted
it's got
feature.
The lights in it.
Yeah. So I don't have any updates on timing on when we can get that, or but I'm sure it'll pop up on Awesome Collector or one of those sites.
That's what I'm waiting for. Clear, the payment plan deal with that. Sure. There's no way I would be able to get it otherwise.
Yeah, and I'm going to get that one too because I don't have an 89. I have an 84 and I have a 91 and a 91 and a 92. I have a 95 of the burning Godzilla without the burning on the way. So I'm missing the so I'm missing the 89. So I'm going to get it as well because I missed out on that originally.
I just can't imagine. Like, I've seen yours and I've seen plenty of pictures of the gigantic, and even they had a picture of somebody holding this one. And I only have a few X Plus figures right now, but they are the most beautiful figures ever. They just are. They're beautiful. Yeah. So having an 89 Godzilla that's twice the size of the 91 Godzilla that I have right now, it's like, I like it because they're different poses too. There'll be different poses too because I know the 91 that you have is like the Baigoji suit is like this. Yeah, it'll be cool to have like the different poses and of course the different sizes. That's a big one. I actually talked about it. I posted a little video on the channel, on the YouTube channel under my Sophobie stress stuff, and I talked about that because I know we didn't get to cover it last time we recorded. But that's a huge news. And then so by the way, I did get an update. The Enraku and Saku skeletal version is 16,500 yen, so about 155 bucks. So right around there. Not bad. Yeah.
No, it's going to be 250 on the second hand the next day. For sure. Yeah.
The next day. Yeah. Immediately. Yeah. Well,
that's all the news I got.
I don't have I have no other news, so we'll do some pickups. I don't have a ton of pickups here, but
me neither.
You wanna go first? Or?
Sure. I only have 3. No, I have 4, and they're all really small. But they're just, I had to take a break after the last 2 pickup sessions. I had to take a little bit of a breather. And so
I hear you.
Some wacky ones. The first one, I don't want to. If you recall from our last episode, I said not this episode, but next I will reveal whoever we think leaves the best 5-star review. I'm going to ship them free of charge. This bad boy, 1990 Bandai Gamera, the Showa era Gamera, special to me because it was my first Bandai vinyl I ever got and kind of got me down the path. But it's a cool little guy. It's by no means is it the most hard to find of all of Bandai vinyls, but it's still cool and it's not. It's not like you can go out tomorrow and get it at Target. So this one we will. I'll be shipping to whoever we think has the best 5-star review.
Okay.
YHS on Monster Island on iTunes. So this is this guy. He came in, and I will be sending that to some lucky winner. The other thing I got, so I definitely love trying to support indie toy makers, indie Sophobie makers, designer vinyl toys to some degree. I don't always get into like the customs because I just feel like I need a property backing it. I know that's my problem, not their problem, but so I typically don't go after a lot of the customs. But sometimes a company that does great customs, like Max Toy Co., the great Mark Nagata, who does Eyes On and Captain Max and has just amazing stuff. He's a great artist as well as toy designer, toy maker. He also has a Tsuburaya license, and he does some of the coolest Ultraman and Ultra Kaiju out there. And I've always like, I'm going to get that, and I just forget. And his prices are reasonable, and I've seen tons of interviews with him. What a nice guy. Like he just gets it. He has maybe the craziest Ultraman collection I've ever seen. But I went ahead and I picked up this really cool colorway of an Ultraman licensed by Tsuburaya. It's this blue and black. There's actually like a glitter in the black too. There's a little sparkly, hard to see, pink eyes. So I love it. It's about, it's like a 5-inch tall figure.
He's cool.
Yeah. I mean, he does these small runs. He makes this one. I believe this one was designed by, is it Piku Piku, the famous sculptor in Japan or whatever? Anyway, gorgeous piece. And it's my first Max Toy Co. company, Max Toy Co. Sophobie items. So I love it. And, I love Ultraman. I'm the biggest Ultraman guy, but there's something about this really cool colorway. And he does some really neat stuff. And so I was glad to kind of pick this guy up, and I'll put him on the shelf with some of my other indie Sophobie items. So that was a really cool thing.
Love that.
The other thing was probably my favorite pickup. So 2001, released in 2001, which was the 100th birthday of Eiji Tsuburaya. And Yutaka, who did a lot of finger puppets and things like that, released this really cool finger puppet set honoring the great Eiji Tsuburaya. So you have an Eiji Tsuburaya puppet, an original Godzilla, a Showa era Ghidorah, an Ultraman, and an Anamagon here to represent Ultra Q, who's like one of the most, the big slug monster from Ultra Q. Yeah. So to represent some of his most famous and iconic kaiju, and of course Ultraman being a hero, in his kind of the great tokusatsu legend here. So yeah, I love this. I'm gonna display this. I thought this was really, really, really cool piece that I got, and I love it. I needed something with kind of Tsuburaya's picture and likeness on the front, and some really cool pieces. So there was that. And then last but not least, I bought something, and I have no idea what it is. It had to come from maybe a vending machine, or like one of the a prize with like candy or something in Japan. It's this little plastic old school TV set looking thing, and it has plastic, and it has like Godzilla with like a circle in the screen. And I thought it was like, from the images, like you could barely tell what it was. I bought it just blindly. I thought it maybe was a pencil sharpener or something like that, but this is like plastic over the hole. And then you turn it around, and there's another little hole up here, and you look inside, and it's like a vague ultra kaiju type, some type of monster, like a little viewfinder. But and it does appear that there are multiple things, but it's broken. I'm gonna have to take it apart or something to see. So I think it's junk.
It's like a little game.
Something there. So I don't know how it works, but it is. I just shook it, and now there's Ultraman's face just popped in. So I'm learning something as we go. Very cool.
It's a secret code to get in there.
But it's this little 2-inch tall little TV set with Godzilla on it, and I'm like, hey, I'll just buy this. It was like $1.50. And I'll buy that, not knowing what it is. And so, I got it. And so it'll go on a shelf somewhere, just because it's wacky and weird. And
I like that.
Yeah. So not a huge haul this week, just some kind of random stuff, but I really do love the Eiji Tsuburaya finger puppet set. I don't collect finger puppets or anything, but that was cool. Dude. And then of course the Max Toyko was really cool as well.
Yeah. Dude, those finger puppets are cool. And I feel like I got a good bit of Godzilla finger puppets that I don't know anything about. They look a lot like those. Yeah. They're not in packaging. And I feel like you find those at cons a lot. We went to me and Craig and Abby went to a toy show in Atlanta. I don't know, maybe a couple months back, 6 months ago. And there was a guy who just had a big basket of just Ultraman finger puppets. Yeah. And I just bought a handful. Abby bought some, but those things are cool.
Yeah. Chances are they're Yutaka, because they did so many finger puppets. I actually, on Toku Toy Town, I sell a lot of Ultraman and Super Sentai and Kamen Rider finger puppets. And they're almost always Yutaka, because they had the Tsuburaya license, but they also had the Toei license for Kamen Rider and Super Sentai. And they do a lot, but there's some really cool stuff. There's just one set I almost bought, and it's an Ultraman, it has 60 finger puppets in it. It's huge. And it's a lot of the different early Ultraman, and then a lot of the kind of most iconic kaiju, ultra kaiju in there. And it just displays really well. Okay. And it looks really cool. I have not picked it up yet, but that's one that I've been eyeing. And once again, not the biggest collector, but when they're in the box and you can display them really easily, it's kind of cool.
Yeah. There's a toy store in Ocala, Florida, a couple hours from me that I hit up every now and then. And we were in there last weekend, and he's got a good amount of Ultraman stuff, but they're these big Ultraman figures. They look like they're 2 feet. They're all in the packaging. They're all on a top shelf. He's had them since the very first time I've ever been in his store. And they're like $250 a piece. They're these nice looking big, I don't know what company they are. But I was in there this last weekend, and he has some that are smaller, but still maybe a foot, maybe 12 inches. And he had a couple that were $60. And I was like, man, I kind of want one of these. And they're Ultraman in his flying pose. So he's awesome. And I'm looking at the box, and I'm like, does this not have a stand? How do you display this? And the picture on the back, the picture on the back has a picture of a string hanging from it. And I'm like, okay. And I almost bought it, because he did have, I haven't seen there's a lot of Ultraman. I haven't seen a lot of it, but I have seen the original Ultraman.
Yeah.
And he happens to have that one, but I ended up passing on it. But I almost just picked up a flying Ultraman with no way to display it.
Here's the thing, and I'm with you, right? I've watched most of like the Showa era stuff, and like Ultra Q. Obviously, I know that's an Ultraman, but like that early stuff, like the image of Ultraman is almost bigger than the shows themselves. Like it's almost as like like when you have that, it's a representation of like early Tokusatsu, right? And Henshin heroes and everything. It's like it doesn't matter. It just means that I like Tokusatsu, and he is the symbol more than anybody of that, even more than Godzilla when you factor in like from a Japanese standpoint. And that's kind of cool. He is truly an icon. Just as other, you might not be a huge Ramones fan, but if you wear a Ramones shirt, they think, oh, he might like. Well, probably a bad example now, but originally, like you might know, like it's one of those things. Like he represents like a almost a larger genre of interest and hobbies, and so like for that, like I think it's cool, and it is such a cool design. That early Ultraman, and the Spacium Ray and doing the pose and everything. It's amazing. So I get like wanting to own that, even if you're not an Ultraman fan at all. It doesn't matter. I think there's some validity in to buying those. Yeah,
you're right, dude.
Yeah. What'd you get, man? No, that's all I got this week.
Cool. So I got all my stuff small this week too, but it's all kind of fun stuff.
Nice.
The first two things I want to show. So Jess was in town this last week, and she found these two things at a convention and picked them up, and they're just fun little. One of these is it's just a Godzilla keychain.
That's awesome.
But it is a Japanese keychain, and I believe it's from 19. Like it's got a date on it somewhere. Is it what?
Is that the Mothra versus Godzilla suit? I saw some of the lids.
It is. Nice. You can see the eyelids.
I love it.
It had a date. It's all Japanese, but it's from 1997.
Okay.
I don't know who made. It's just a little keychain.
That's awesome, man.
And it does have the little, it's got the little Godzilla.
It's official.
It's official.
I like that tag too.
Yeah. The tags. I love how the tag's bigger than the keychain.
That's really cool.
But this fits in with the cute Godzilla stuff I got
for
going
sure.
on. This next one, speaking of Ultraman, one of my favorite kaiju, maybe everybody's favorite kaiju. Little Pigmon here. Look at this guy.
Yes.
Look at
with
this
the balloon. With the balloon.
It's this little diorama thing.
Oh my god!
Took me 20 minutes to figure out how to connect the balloon. I love this. I love this guy. When I saw him on Ultra Q, I was like, this is the greatest creature. He's beautiful. And dies. This thing.
Who dies
great.
More, him or Mothra? I don't know.
That's a whole episode. The many deaths.
We can do the many deaths of Mothra and Pigmon. I love it.
Yeah.
No,
So,
on that diorama, do you know, is that Bandai?
I don't know anything about this. Let me see if it's got.
The reason I ask is because Godzilla.
It is Bandai 2006.
Yeah, because Godzilla, they did those little modeling collection Yuji Sakai dioramas that looked like that because it kind of had the same stand and stuff.
I love those.
Yeah,
I love those, and I have probably 6 or 8 of those, and I would love that. Anytime I see those, I pick them up. I'd love to. I don't know how many they made. I
think they made at least 4 series.
They're beautiful.
I know they made at least 4 series, 4 or 5 each. The goal was to do from like every movie of Godzilla. Everyone's from a different movie. I sold it, but I used to have the 75 one. And I could do some digging on those later date. But those are really cool. Yeah. Cool. So the next thing I got from Toku Toy Town. Yeah. I like those guys.
Continuing this weird thing that I'm doing with collecting Lit Goji. Jay, you found this. I've never seen it in my life.
Me neither.
Got this Space Godzilla Lit Goji cup. It's like
that thing is amazing.
It's like I love that I didn't notice this until I opened it up, but like Space Godzilla's on one side, then when you turn it around, his tail's over here.
That's the highlight of that cup. Yeah. And I love how they interpret Space Godzilla. You know, we talked about it when you got the bank and everything.
He's the best.
He's the best. And I've never seen any other cups.
I tried to do a little bit of research, and it's impossible to find any lit. You type in lit Goji, you don't get much at all. You get a couple. I get a couple of Twitter posts from a few other people who have, but I see no cups in any photos. I cannot find. But me and you talked about this. The fact that this is Space Godzilla, there's no way Space Godzilla was the one and only cup they did.
Let's lead with Space Godzilla.
There has to be more of these. It makes me wonder just how much. Like you found a spoon recently that I don't. Did you? I did buy the spoon. I actually think that was Godzilla Land. That's Godzilla Land. Or was it lit? It might have been lit. I'm gonna look that up. I don't know, but it's just that
I did buy it though.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I feel like we just keep finding lit Goji stuff, and it's like, I don't know what it is, where it came from. Like, there's not a lot of info on this stuff. I just wonder how much of this is out there, how much merchandise exists.
I mean, at some point, we have to eventually make the call that you are now at least in the U.S., the king.
We're getting there. I think we're getting there. Yeah.
Pretty close. I mean, a couple more obscure ones, and
right.
No, you are right. It is a lit.
It is a lit.
So you're getting a little kid spoon.
I love it. I want all the lit Goji stuff. So yeah.
I was thinking of the Rubik's Cube that I found that was Godzilla Land.
Yes.
Which I unfortunately could not win. I think went for hundreds of dollars, but that was a really cool piece. But the spoon, the spoon was lit.
Now, so the next thing I know, on the last episode, I showed off this guy, the Nagora that I bought from the My Plastic Heart booth. Mm-hmm. Well, right after that episode, they posted another one for sale. Sold out it was like a Mondo drop, Jay.
Yeah.
they put one up and they were like, this is going on sale at this time. I got on my phone, I was like getting ready for it, and it sold out almost immediately, but not before I got one. And it shipped pretty quickly. And it's another Nagora, but he is a pumpkin. I'm going to call him pumpkin flavored. He's got purple feet, green ears. He is pumpkin colored, orange and yellow. Has a little pumpkin around his neck.
I love the collar. That's great.
I love these now. I collect these guys now. This is only my second one. I did think maybe it was going to be a little bigger. This was the convention exclusive. This one was like 115 or 100 and something like that. This guy was about 60 with tax and everything. So I expected him to maybe be like 1 inch taller, but I'm not complaining. I do have like 8 more of these coming that it was like blind boxes. So they're only like $5 a piece, but I bought the whole thing months and months ago. I don't know when they're going to show up, but so I guess I collect these now. I guess I collect Kaiju.
And on those kind of the designer vinyl like that, I mean, you pay for scarcity and production runs. That's what like a lot of our friends, and I know a lot of people that, I mean, you yourself, but also the people you engage with are, huge toy collectors. But like when you think of collecting Hasbro or Mattel or NECA, even, it's all about things like articulation and size and things like that. Whereas like in the designer vinyl world, it's like there was 3 of these made.
It's a different thing.
It's like art. It really is like, it's scarcity, and the size of the production run is almost, at the vanguard of what, dictates the price on top of like the aesthetic and everything. So it's just a different mindset. And like you said, you'll pay. I've seen small pieces that are 1.5 inches tall go for hundreds of dollars because they literally an artist made 10 of them, and you can only get them if you were a left-handed opera enthusiast in Idaho. I get all these exclusives, So that's beautiful. Now,
I appreciate it. I did see. I didn't know this when I was in New York a couple weeks ago, or we would have went. But My Plastic Heart they have a brick and mortar store in New York. and I'm going in about 2 weeks. 2
Nice.
weeks. We already got it planned. We are
Nice.
the day we get to New York, we are going to, because now Abby's into it, and she bought some stuff from that booth. I sent her their Instagram, and she's been like sending me stuff from their Instagram. Like, what is this? You know?
Yeah.
So we're like, well, let's go. We're going back to New York. Let's go to My Plastic Heart. So I'm excited.
Can you please do a video? Can you please do a video? Like you and Abby
we'll do some
shopping in that amazing store. Like
in My Plastic. Yeah, dude.
I mean, it has crossovers with YHS on Monster Island and Toy Anxiety. I mean, it is a lot of stuff. And speaking of that, for those that don't go out and watch Toy Anxiety, it's the hit sensation every Tuesday night, 9:30, 8:30 Central on YouTube. But I love when you guys were doing your toy pickups. And I think the most response from those in the live chat and even the other hosts was when you showed off those toys. It wasn't for, HasLab Sentinels and this, that, and the other. It was for those pieces. And that's just kind of the emotional response that some of these really cool designer pieces can elicit from people. And I love it. It was great.
Yeah, for sure, man. Jay, I got one more thing.
Okay. I'm excited.
This came in today.
Oh, hot off the press.
I ordered this days ago, and I did not think it was going to get here. I was not expecting to be able to show it on tonight's episode because I think I might have ordered this Monday. Okay. One of the weirdest things I think I have, it's not a toy, but it is Godzilla related. I found, I'm just going to show it to you. This is a vintage 1993.
Okay.
If that tells you anything.
Okay.
Sony Walkman, Godzilla branded. 98 is what I meant.
I was going to say, we're doing Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2.
98 TriStar Godzilla promotional Walkman.
I bow to your greatness. It's going to be hard to beat that.
It has. I just love that it's Godzilla, but Hershey's is bigger. The Hershey's logo is.
How many brands can we slap on a piece of merchandise?
I found this kind of accidentally because while we were over the weekend, we went toy hunting. Abby found a Batman Forever, like Batman head that is a cassette player. And I was like, well, what other brands had cassette? Because I'm into cassette players. So I was like, let me look for Star Wars. And I found a few Star Wars ones. I looked for Ninja Turtles. Found a couple Ninja Turtle cassette player, very expensive. Yeah. And then I was like, surely there has to be some sort of Godzilla cassette player. This is the only thing that popped up. It said it was promotional. It said it works. I haven't tested it yet. But these are the headphones. This is it. The person had it. They had a buy it now on it, but they also had a make an offer, and they took the first offer because I'm sure nobody's looking for a 98 TriStar Godzilla Sony cassette player. But now I fucking own it, dude.
Well, you know what, Jake? Well, you know what would be really great to test on that? How about the YHS Spooktacular cassette that you guys, that I believe a few are still available maybe in the YHS store.
Yeah.
These are amazing. It's a bonus episode that you three did. And I know you had a Stephen King reading of a passage from it. There's an original story by Abby. Craig doing some just zaniness that Craig's known for. Yeah. And it is some amazing original art. Who is that? Is that Tom Whalen? No, it's Jacob Walsh doing that. Amazing. The Spooktacular. I think this would be perfect for that 1998 Godzilla Walkman. Yes. Go out there and buy this, people.
What a smooth transition. I didn't do that on purpose. That was
I don't know how smooth it was. My body was out. For those watching, I was out of screen for a second.
We need to just cut that, and Craig can post that as an ad for the tape. I was listening to mine today, actually, for the first time. I opened it up and put it on a tape player and was listening to it. So
it's really good. And I'm not going to spoil it because I want you guys to go and buy it. But it's really, really good. I love the episode. I love your reading. I mean, I would say I love your reading, but we've heard how good your readings are for those that are patrons on the YHS Patreon channel, to be able to hear stuff. So I'm not surprised how good it was. And you read such an iconic passage. It's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Craig's stuff is great. And then super impressed with Abby. I mean,
Abby's is good. Yeah.
I mean, and I know, writing this great short story but also the guts to go in and write in a third person omniscient POV. Like, good for you, Abby. Really good stuff, dude. Man. And I loved it. It was great. Man. It was great. And,
I appreciate it.
You could have charged double for this, and I think people would have still got their money's worth. It was good stuff.
I will say that you do get if you want to buy this, but you don't have a cassette player, you get a digital download.
Yeah.
So cool. So now that the advertisement
is something good over, to something bad.
Now that the advertisement is over, listen, we watched War of the God Monsters kind of on accident. I just put it on one day. I saw that it was free on Tubi, and whenever God, what is the company?
SRS Cinema.
And I liked the artwork, and I almost bought it on VHS just to have. I was like, oh, this looks cool, and the concept of a lost Korean. I don't know the year that it started. Do you?
85. Yeah.
So 85, like. The concept of a failed Korean kaiju film from 1985 that got finished, now, that sounds amazing to me. That sounds like that's the kind of success story I want to see. So I put this movie on, and I will tell you, it took me about a week and a half to finish it because it's trash. But when I told Jay I was watching it, Jay goes, I'll watch it too, and that'll be the next episode. And I was just like, hold on, Jay. And then on top of that, Jay said, you know what? Let's double it up and let's watch Yongary, which I watched a few days ago. And you know what? When I put it on, I was like, this is a classic Toho movie. I was like, from the beginning, I was like, I like the way this looks. I like these miniatures. I like that it's called Yongary Monster from the Deep, and we're starting in space. I was like, I'm into this.
And then underground.
But then about 30 minutes in, I said, oh no, this is bad. Hey, you know what? If there's anything that's going to take me out of a movie more than anything, it's this. It's when an hour into your movie, all of a sudden, Yongary is dancing
and itching.
And then less than a minute later, you're watching a kaiju convulsing and shitting blood,
bleeding out of his rectum
into the local water supply.
Yeah.
I was like, nope. I hated watching that.
Yes,
and we're gonna talk about them. So,
well, after we watched War of the God Monsters, my concern was like it would truly just be us saying like, "What the hell did we just watch?" And it wouldn't be enough for an episode. So I was like, you know what?
I got no notes, Jay.
Yeah,
I have no.
I have a lot.
I'm glad you do.
I'm the opposite of you. Is like when I see something I don't understand, I think I write. I have to try to figure out something what is there. But I was like, you know what? This would be a good idea, like to basically tackle the two most infamous South Korean monster movies. I know Yongary was remade as Reptilian in the late 90s, but we haven't got there yet. And maybe we probably won't after this.
I'm going to watch that now. If I've already gone this far.
And here's the thing. I was like, and I'd seen Yongary when I was younger. I'd never seen War of the God Monsters because it was lost. And I was like, look, I like Pulgasari enough. It was fine. If North Korea can do that in 1980, then, hopefully the South Korea could do something better. But it was
Pulgasari is a masterpiece compared to this.
And I hate saying this, but North Korea wins in the Kaiju Battle of Korea, and it's not even close. But so I figured let's do this kind of retrospective from 1967 originally, Yongary, which is truly one of the earliest films in Korean history. It's truly like the beginning of the Korea cinematic industry. To 85, this lost film. And the funny thing is now South Korea is like a film powerhouse, like The Host and all. They have so many great films coming out and Parasite and all that type of stuff that it's just funny that it started. One of the biggest early movies was Yongary. And then somehow War of the God Monsters got made. But before we get into it, and we can, it's like pick your poison, which one I want to talk about first.
Yeah,
but the one thing that kind of connects both that's very interesting. And I learned this kind of doing research on something else. I think actually when I was reading the book about Pulgasari, this was talked about for South Korea, even though I know that book's about North Korea, that until like post World War II, it was illegal for anything that was produced in Japan to be shown in Korea, because they're evil imperialists and all that type of stuff, right? So like you couldn't bring over Godzilla and all these Japanese, the Tsuburaya production stuff and everything to bring over to Korea. It was illegal, like against the law. The loophole they found was that they could partner with some Japanese companies to help them, and they could kind of get it okayed and approved. And so that's why with Yongary, it's co-produced. All the special effects are done by Toei. So that's Kamen Rider and Super Sentai, I think kind of fits that era. So early Toei. And then with War of the God Monsters, obviously they license all the stuff from Tsuburaya, from all the Ultramans and all the monsters, the stock footage. And then there's actually even stock footage from, there's a Taiwanese film called Return of the Ming Dynasty, or Founding of the Ming Dynasty, and that the giant dragons and stuff that you see in a clip. Those are actually from a different, not Tsuburaya. Okay. Anyway, so that's why both of these have this. Yongary's not stock footage, but it's working with Toei, and then War of the God Monsters just flat out abuses stock footage, and so there's that kind of umbrella over both films.
Gotcha. Yeah. So Toei is who is to blame for just the metal flamethrower sticking out of Yongary's throat.
Yes.
It's just, you can clearly, it's just the metal.
No attempt to hide it.
Flamethrower.
No attempt to hide it. Yeah, that's on my notes, is like the flamethrower mouth. Yeah, it is Toei. But I mean, you look at early Kamen Rider, and this is before Kamen Rider, but you look at that, like, I mean, there's the Batman and the Spider-Man. Just look at those costumes from Kamen Rider, and it's not a surprise to me. I guess we can talk about Yongary first, but sure. It's the first one, 1967. But to me, I got vibes of a not as zany, but still zany, but more boring, like Showa era Gamera film. I felt like it was like our Gamera version. Yeah.
100%. And even Yongary himself looks like camera figure that Gamera figure that you just had that you're going to send to somebody looks like they just stuck stegosaur spines on the back of it and a fucking horn, and like it looks like that. It looks
that shoots out a like horn beam.
It looks a lot like the Gamera Kaiju to me. That was as soon as he showed up, I was like, oh, this is what I'm in for. Yeah.
But this film is just like, there's a lot of, I do think it is just hot garbage. But I think like it has so much like historical significance, which is the crazy thing. I mean, I believe it was the first Korean film, to have a wide release in the US. This film.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know why we didn't declare war in South Korea after that. I mean, it was like, it's just, it's like they don't even try. But I will say that I'll give Yongary this. At least, though boring and simple, at least there's a plot in there, which I don't know if we can say. I don't know if we can say that. And actually, the one thing I do want to spend time on, we don't have to right now, I will give Yongary this. More so than many, many other kaiju films of this era, there is like really big symbolism that the South Korean filmmakers and critics of the time were pulling out of Yongary, that just kind of talked about kind of the sociopolitical climate in South Korea. It's funny, we always talk about how kaiju can be used as metaphors for stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that is kind of Yongary. I think besides the dumb ass dancing scene, which is on the one end of the spectrum, I think the one positive thing that came out of Yongary is like, it did, I think, effectively showcase some of these themes that were going on in Korea at the time. And like, so we can talk about them when we kind of go through some of the plot or whatever. But at the end of the day, that's really kind of my big takeaway, was like, it was a big metaphor for Korea at that kind of point in time. And there's a lot of great articles written about that. And maybe giving Yongary too much credit, but hey, the rest of the film is garbage. So.
Yeah, I mean that's really interesting, and I'd like to. I would be interested in reading some of that and seeing that somebody was able to take something from this movie. Because listen, this movie tricked me, Jay. Yeah, because at first I was like, oh, okay, I like I said. I was like, this looks classic Toho to me. This looks good. It's got, the plot of like, there's earthquakes. Why are there earthquakes? Oh, maybe there's a monster. And I'm like, that is the most simple.
Yeah. Nuclear testing classic, in the Middle East. Earthquakes.
Exactly. I was like, I'm into this. But the moment Yongary showed up, I was like,
yep,
I'm done. This is it.
Yeah. It is. It's interesting. Like you hope that there's some like zany or interesting human characters as well. And there's not. I mean, it is very flat. It's very bland. Yep. The kid is, like I said, he belongs in a Gamera film. I mean, Ichiro from Godzilla's Revenge would beat the crap out of Icho from this movie.
Yeah.
Like, not even close. I love when he says, I'm about 8. I'm like, you don't know how old you are? You're about 8. There's some funny lines in the dub, by the way. There's some really, really funny lines.
Yeah.
The one was the one general or whatever political leader when he's like, when they're talking about maybe using the missiles on the landmarks, and he's like, I've been thinking about those missiles a lot. I'm like, what? It's like, I've been thinking about this girl I went on a date with a lot. Like, no, those are missiles, dude. Yeah, there's just some wonkiness in it.
It is. It also, like, I feel like maybe we're from the amount of kaiju we have, at our fingertips, and talking about, we're talking about Gigan earlier, or Space Godzilla, or any of the really cool looking designs. It's really hard to go back and watch an older film where it's like, were they even trying when they made Younger? Like, whoever designed that looks like they had 5 minutes to design it, and it's so boring looking. Mm-hmm. And I just don't like. I'm watching it, and I'm like, okay, so it like sort of looks like Godzilla. It sort of looks like Gorosaurus. It looks like it's got stegosaur spines. I was just like, what do they do? I just, it's like there's no direction, there's no creativity in it. And that just bummed me out so hard. As bad as War of the God Monsters is, you at least get to look at Ultraman monsters,
Yeah, 100%. No, I think that's the thing. It's like, 5 minutes and $5, that's Tsuburaya did that all the time. And he made things with, duct tape and trash bags and whatever. But I think that what they did right was, if I know this is going to look bad, I'm going to make it look interesting. I'm going to make it look weird. Right. And we'll talk about that with Pestar later. But this one is like bad and boring. I will give them a little credit. I thought some of the miniature work was fine for that era and that budget. Yeah.
I agree. I always like the miniature stuff.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. But yeah, so it's boring.
It is. Yeah. I started to, I was sitting down yesterday and I was like, well, maybe I should do a little bit of extra research for these movies and maybe get some technical stuff so I can have some stuff. But then I was like, hey, you know what? Fuck it. It'd be a much more interesting episode of Monster Island if we just shit talk these two movies or go off of what Jake, because I was like, I ain't looking up shit about Yongary ever again. I'm gonna watch Reptilian, but after that, I'm done.
South Korea is gonna be dead to you. I have to say, like, it's good. I think this conversation is gonna end with what was actually better. A semblance of a plot you can follow, but boring, or batshit crazy, but like batshit crazy entertaining. I mean, like, there's still like, because there's like, what you're always asking yourself, how the hell did somebody make this? I think that'll be a big question. But so I'm not gonna try to salvage Yongary because it's hot garbage. But some of the interesting things that, when you do a little research, when you read, like I said, I read way too many articles about people trying to examine and pull something from Yongary, but some of it's interesting. Some of it is like purely symbolic. Like, it's very simple. Like, it's a scene that they extrapolated. I think the one that's most common that you hear people talk about is, when he first appears, he appears in Panmunjom, where, they signed the treaty, the end of the Korean War. Right. And so that's where he comes up for the first time. And apparently that's very symbolic of this fear, post-Korean War, that the North was going to rise again and they were going to come in down and destroy Seoul again from the North. So Yongary did come from the North, where the Alliance was, and they came down and he destroyed Seoul. So like it was a direct, the fear of Koreans at the time, of South Koreans at the time, of what North Korea could do post armistice. So there's that. The other thing that was another scene that was saying very kind of straightforward on the surface, on the nose, was one of the scenes, one of the better scenes where he just destroys kind of a government looking building. Yeah. I didn't know what the building was. I mean, I don't know much about Korea outside of, I used to watch a lot of the Korean Professional Baseball League, go Samsung Lions. But anyway, that building was kind of a last semblance of Japanese imperialism. It was like a Japanese government building, and then destroying it was kind of their like kind of middle finger, like, hey, we're past that. So those are kind of like, here are like little things the director decided to do to as like represent Korea. Some of the bigger themes, well, I don't know. It might be like, if you can watch anything, you can kind of make up a theme, like I think if you really get creative enough. But some of the crazier things was, so apparently at the time, post-Korean War again, there was this crisis of masculinity in South Korea. Like they were just kind of a country trying to find their identity after, essentially kind of giving up in this big war and signing this treaty with North Korea. And so that's why like it's the focus is on the male astronaut, the male scientist, and they're always kind of like prove their masculinity, prove that they're right, take the lead, take charge. But yet the hero of the show is really the young boy, right? It's Ichigo, and that's supposed to represent kind of the Korea of the future. Like he is the young man. He's the one that's supposed to represent. So I go, that's one that like, I guess, he's also very like, hey, don't kill it. Yeah. He turns in the end and he's like, let's show compassion, So and that's, in the lost South Korean version. So I guess we should talk about this because I'm glad you brought that up because I think that might be the coolest thing about Yongary. So yes, there is something cool about it. I'll own this one. So, this is one of the first films in South Korea. They work with Toei. Toei handles a lot of the distribution. The poor South Korean company just didn't know what to do. And they sent out all their original South Korean copies out to the different countries to try to get it picked up for distribution. They kept none. So they didn't get any of those back. So there is only 48 minutes of like damaged original South Korean version of Yongary that's in existence. No full stuff, nothing like that. Everything that's been even played now in South Korea is the English dub with Korean subtitles. So the original Yongary Korean does not exist. But in that version, and this is the cool part, Yongary lives. He talks, the little kid talks the government into creating a way to basically blast him off into space and live happy and nice amongst the stars or whatever. So there could be a Yongary too, if the Korean version.
Hey, give it to SR Cinnamon. Let him, let him.
Give it to Hayashia, man. He'll make it. But yeah, so that was kind of like lost film. I mean, this was actually a lost film that has not been found. Just for the 48 minutes exist. And so, yeah, he does exist. And the last thing I have on Yongary really is, and this one I think was the most on the nose of all the thematic kind of attempts at thematic relevance is, you remember the dialogue they have in the military leaders and the political leaders, like they don't want to shoot missiles at him, the ones that he's been thinking a lot about, because they don't want to destroy landmarks. And then they make the comment like, well, we got to think about the future. That's one of those things as of like, forget about the past. Let's work. We need to focus on the new Korea because the old Korea is dead and gone. So not to say that this movie is good.
Basically, it's like, this is the Last Jedi.
Yeah.
This is the Last Jedi of Korean monster films.
Trying to make a statement.
Let the past die.
Yeah.
Kill
Admiral Akbar, piss me off.
Split the lightsaber in half. Forget about the past, kill them all, and move forward.
Yep, it's that mixed with a little the original Godzilla in the sense that it's like kind of the how do we handle it post-war, and there it was, obviously the worry about nuclear weapons and radiation and stuff. Here it's like, what the hell do we do as a new country post-war? So but that's it. But the thing is, like, that's great. Those themes are great. They're wonderful. But when they're delivered in such a garbage ass movie, Screw it.
Yeah, this movie sucks, dude. I am glad I watched it. It is one of the ones you want to see. I'm intrigued by the remake or the Reptilian because I remember when Reptilian came out. It's like a sci-fi movie. Mm-hmm. It's like really bad. It looks like a sci-fi movie.
Yeah,
and then
like an asylum flick.
It was like later that I read something maybe in G-Fan about it being like a remake of Yong. And I was like, wait, what? Yeah. It's called Reptilian, but it's supposed to be Yongary 2 or something like that. And I'm like, I don't understand. I'm a little confused by it, but I'm intrigued by it. And I do want to watch that.
Me too.
It can't be worse than these two.
It can't be worse. But there's one last thing worse about this movie, just to make you hate it even more. I forgot this little nugget. I did not know this. This was not discovered in research. So the West German release, you know how sometimes like in a lot of the other countries, they get really wacky titles, some that make no sense whatsoever. We'll get to War of the God Monsters in a second. But the West German title of this film was Return of Godzilla. And in the trailer, they called him Godzilla. Now in the movie, they did not do the Godzilla in the movie. So those damn West Germans. Yes. So
hey, if Toku Toy Town can find me a VHS copy of the Return of Godzilla, Yongary, I'll buy it.
And I don't know the literal translation was. I looked at it's like a translation. I think it was something like Godzilla's death paw or something like that. But I was about to say like basically like if you interpret it's like the Return of Godzilla or something like that.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so just another fun nugget with Yongary.
I mean, but listen, also like leave it up to you to be able to talk about it for 30 minutes because you had stuff to say about. I mean, you had stuff to say about this movie that's more interesting than the movie.
That's not hard, man. That's not hard. But what I bowel movements more interesting than this movie.
But what I can say is like War of the God Monsters, I think is the worst kaiju movie I've ever seen. It is. It's like I have nothing really to say about this movie. You had the foresight to be like, we have to talk about two movies. Yeah. Because it literally took me a couple days to get through War of the God. I kept stopping it. I kept shutting it off. I hated this movie. I just hated it, dude.
The last note I have on my notes was, is this the worst movie ever made? Not just kaiju movie, worst movie. I mean, this is like Mono's Hands of Fate level, Plan 9 from Outer Space level, The Room level, whatever era you love, it is. The Beast of Yucca Flats level, Monster Go-Go. I mean, I can go on. I love bad movies. But what the fuck was this? Yeah, who created this? This person needs to be in an insane asylum. Like, really?
It's a bummer to me because I really like SR. Is it just SR Cinema? I really like SRS. I really like them and I really respect what they're doing. And I love that they're releasing stuff on VHS and I buy their movies. I own a couple of their, I have some right here. And I think like taking an old movie that, was unfinished and like saying, hey, we're going to put this out. That sounds so cool to me. Like, I love that. I love that somebody put the work in, but like, it's just not good. And I mean, that's not their fault because they just intercut the footage, but fuck, dude, this movie was lost for a reason. It's not good.
I don't think it was lost. I think it was put out of its misery.
I couldn't even tell you what the plot of this movie is.
There is no plot.
All I know is that at some point about halfway through, monsters start showing up and it's
dinosaurs.
Oh, wait. Hold on. It just came back to me where the guy is like doing dinosaur research and he goes out and it's like a dog skull or something attached to a bunch of fake bones. And he's like, look, a dinosaur. And I'm like, I think that might be a deer skull. And he's doing all this dinosaur research. And then like the nanny's trying to steal it or something. The maid is like trying to steal his research or learn about it. And then all of a sudden dinosaurs start showing up, but it's like the weirdest fucking Ultraman. And it's not cut well. It just cuts to the monsters. And it's like, you're looking at you're watching Ultraman now. Now you're watching this. Now you're watching Ultraman, and now and the noises they make.
They're redone.
Annoying.
They didn't get the rights to the sound. Yeah,
it's very some of it's very annoying. And I was just like, what?
Yeah, that's it works on kind of like this weird kind of, I don't know, bastardized dream logic type thing. Like you can't really like, there's nothing like linear about it. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, like here's what my takeaway: dinosaur scientist has a wacky idea that the polar ice caps are melting because of climate change. Hey, ahead of the time, 1985. I'll give him that.
Right, for sure.
And when they melt,
but he thinks dinosaurs are
going to come out, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, his wife is long past, and so he needs a new housekeeper. But then there's this nosy reporter that wants to get the scoop. And remember, like at the very beginning, you get like her evil boss being like, "Go find out about this guy." You never hear him.
Okay.
And so she pretends to be the nanny. Now, remember, the nanny shows up, and how does she pretend to be the nanny? She adds a mole to her face.
She puts the mole, yeah.
But why does she need a mole? Nobody saw the other nanny. Like, it's not like...
Yeah, it makes no sense.
What the hell? So they do that. And then, you know, he has this daughter, and him and the daughter and the kind of the reporter that's under... or that's in disguise to kind of form the bond, right? Like the daughter, lots of screaming. There's just lots of screaming in this movie.
Yep.
And then of course, lo and behold, the ice caps melt and all these stock footage monsters, dinosaurs, start showing up. And then there's so much wacky shit. Like the daughter gets sick because she's close to dinosaur bones. He digs dinosaur bones. He has dinosaur bones in his office, but somehow she gets sick.
Sick.
And
from what though?
From what? We don't know. And then it just, and this is kind of jumping around. We can talk about the monsters and stuff because that's kind of what people listen into this. But I mean, you have some of the wackiest shit. You have the wind, the tornado scenes and the storms caused by the monsters. You have people getting blown up the hill and people getting blown down the same hill. Like, what the hell? Then you get that weird. Oh, first off, the little girl's a freaking sociopath too, because she loves it. Like when she has the dream sequence and Veracron, the monster's like she gets sad when he gets hurt, but loves it when he's like killing people. Like she's messed up. There's the weird like scene with the guy on the bus that kind of implies that he's going to like sexually assault her, but then like she buys the tent from him and like camps out on there. And like, it's kind of, I don't know if it's like a red herring or whatever, but like they did that misdirection there. And then like, the guy's like
weird bit of misdirection.
I know, and then the guy, the doctor's going to get her back because he's like, "You can't play me." And then he goes and like dresses up as like the stalker and like chokes her, but like really does choke her out.
Yeah.
And then like this is like this weird bout of emotional and physical manipulation, and like what the hell's going? Like I'm just sitting here being like, "What am I watching?" This is, and then the weird scene like. Because she scared him or he scared her. She jumps up in his window with the wig on and like screams a maniacal laugh. I'm like, what? But then, you know, we talked about in Yongary, the infamous scene of Ichu shining the light and Yongary dancing and itching around and everything like that.
Yeah.
Which is like, I think one of the most known, like hated scenes in all of Kaiju. I think one that rivals it is in this movie. And I think as more people watch this movie as it becomes available, I think this will keep rising as one of the biggest what the fuck moments of Kaiju is with the baby. It's there, the city's evacuating, the village is evacuating, and the lady and the man run out and she grabs the pillow instead of the baby. And then they go up to the hill and they're like, "You grabbed the pillow, not the baby." They don't try to go back and get the baby. They just let the baby die. They fucking killed the baby. So it's like, what the hell? And everybody's just sitting there like, what the hell? But and then the monsters get attacked by the military, and then they're just gone.
They're just gone.
They're just gone because they don't have footage that creates a logical conclusion.
They don't have right. Which is so. It's like, why make it if you don't have a way to? It's like it feels like they got excited about it. They started cutting it together. They were like, "Cool, we're getting to make this," and then they were like, "Oh, we can't have Ultraman show up."
Yeah.
So what do we do? Where do the monsters go?
Yeah, it's and you know, it's just so bizarre. And I mean, and it ends on like the little kid and they're like, "Will you be my new mommy?" And it's like, this guy just strangled her and she just tried to like, I mean, this is not a good start to a marriage.
It's
here.
not.
But the only original monster stuff that's in the film that's original is like those wonky looking like feet and legs. Remember they do that where, like the close up. That's the only thing original. And everything else is just straight stock footage from Ultraman, Return of Ultraman, Fireman, and then a little bit from the founding of the Ming Dynasty. And it's just, what the fuck were we? I can't explain it. You know, we talked about Yamada Takaru, how wacky the plot is, how elements, there's were-wizards and they fight on the moon and stuff. That is like the most well-articulated plot compared to this.
It is. And the difference is that movie's kind of charming and it's fun and the creatures look cool. Yeah. And even though the plot's insane, you can follow why it's happening. This movie just makes no sense. And it's hard. It's like, were they just trying to be funny? Were they just trying to like make an absurdist movie, or like what were they on drug? I just don't know what. Yeah, I don't know what, why, or how, but we fucking watched it. So
yeah, and then the monsters. Like, I love the random collection of monsters they pick. I mean, of course they pick. Okay. They're trying to pass these off as dinosaurs, right?
Yeah, and I know exactly. I know what you're going to say, but
you get like Doragon, which looks like the Triceratops, but stands up from Fireman. Okay, you get Sigarath and Simon's, the ones that kind of the male and the female. Okay, dinosaur-ish. But then why the fuck do you start off with Pestar, the sea starfish 2-person bat head thing? Like, it's a bat head connected to 2 people and, in blankets. Like, what?
They pick the creatures that look the furthest from any real dinosaur. Which you have a wealth of Ultraman monsters to choose from, and it's like, I don't know, dude. I don't know if some of that was wanting to use, that creature is well known, and maybe they were like, everybody knows who he is. Let's put him in there. But
I think the same with Bimstar. That was the other one that was kind of like the starfish looking with the kind of the pointy spikes. And then you have Tarantulus or Pterochilus or whatever, that the bird monster, I think probably might have had the most screen time. And then I guess, is it resolved because he destroys the egg and then that just sends them all back and everybody, and the girl's healthy again. The little girl's healthy again.
But where do they go? Like, it's like you can't go back into the ice once the ice is melted. Are they just all living underground? I don't know, dude.
I don't know. I don't know anything about this.
I literally have nothing else to say about it. Like, I literally don't, man. I honestly almost looked it up and was like, this is going to be one of those episodes where it's like, these people are just going to listen to us talk shit about this movie.
I think, for our listeners, like, I think you have to, I don't think you have to watch Yongary, because I think like there's not a lot, unless you care about like cinematic history and Korean film history, watch it. If you're a kaiju fan and you want to kind of hit the big ones for every country, okay, great. But at the end of the day, like, there's very little entertainment value, and there's not even like kind of the what the fuck. It's like, this is just a boring storyline.
Yeah,
and he bleeds out of his butt. But War of the God Monsters, I think it's one of those, like, you kind of have to watch the car wreck here, because I don't think you understand, listeners, how messed up and irreverent and irrelevant now this movie is. You have to watch it you have to see it to believe how ridiculous and dumb this thing is. And so I think for that, maybe they find value in us. Yeah, go check it out.
it's free with ads on Tubi. You can watch it for free. Yeah. Yongary, I rented on Amazon for like $2.
Yeah.
Dude, not to go back to Yongary, but
you can always go back to Yongary.
We're making fun of that scene where he bleeds out of his butt. But that scene was it upset me, because like, even though the movie's bad and the creature looks stupid, just something about watching a kaiju convulse and bleed out, like, in such a, I don't know, it was depressing, and it made me feel really bad. And I was like, this is not the kind of thing I want to be watching in a monster. It's just not, And
like, you mentioned at the very beginning, 15 minutes after he was dancing.
Yeah, it's right after he's dancing, and you're like, hey, okay, do a drop kick or something. But then it's like, oh, I gotta watch this thing die. I mean, he doesn't die or whatever right there, but it's like, I don't know, dude.
Well, it had kind of like, to me, like that kind of dichotomy of like happy dancing and very solemn, gross, like, you know, whatever type moment. I had a lot of like hetera to me. Like, I think it had like where it's like you would get like you get like cartoony, and then like really sad and solemn, and you get like just this kind of like disjointed feel, right?
Yep,
that's how Yongary was. At least that last scene. You're right. It's true. Like the one moment where you're just like, I'm kind of sad.
Yeah,
and it's, like,
it's just not an image that I was expecting to happen, and it goes on for a long time.
Yeah.
See, like it's almost like a slow zoom, and you're like, oh, we're just gonna watch him convulse, and like when the blood starts coming, it's very slow, and you just watch the blood spread, and it even pans out, and you see a couple houses in the area on the water, and he's half in the water and half out, and it's really the only part of the movie that stuck with me was that scene, and it's the one scene that I don't want stuck with me. I don't like it. So if you want to watch some depressing, disturbing, weird shit, I guess watch Yongary.
Yeah, so South Korea, I'll give you credit. You've done really good recently, but I want to see a giant monster movie that you guys know. So maybe Reptilian. I don't know if I'm optimistic about that.
But Reptilian, is Reptilian a South Korean movie, or was that made?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
I know it was directed by a South Korean director. I'm not sure like who funded it. I thought it was South Korean made as well, produced. We can double check that because I know like Reptilian, I think is the US title. I think it was released as Yongary as well.
Okay.
I could be wrong on that. So please.
We'll look it up. Yeah. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. But I've never